Alright, we have a navigation challenge between the IGS630 Wahoo Bolt V2 and the Bryton 750SE. So just a startup challenge. Definitely think the IG630 wins. Bryton 750SE is second, and then Wahoo is dead last. So we'll load up a map and then we'll do some navigation and we'll see how all three of these do. Alright, maps are loaded, watch included, course pace 2. Let's start all of them. We should get the auto pause. Route start. Alright, everything is started. Maps are loaded. Currently, it is the easiest to see the this one here, the Wahoo Bolt 2. So I think there's some settings on here that we can do here to fix that. Display brightness, turn off auto, and just turn it bright always. Okay, this one here. I think this one's pretty good at auto brighting. So let's get started and see how these work. Okay, thus far, all three are not doing too bad. Got into some complex sections, but I think there's definitely some false turns that are on all these devices. Like I'm not turning left or really going any direction. So I guess that's a slight veer off for this, the Bryton. Whereas the 630 is telling me I'm making a left in 500 feet. And the Wahoo is not telling me that I'm making any turns, so I think that technically would be correct. Wahoo being correct in that. Overall, looking at the maps, they're all pretty good. I would say it's pretty clear where I'm supposed to go on all of them here, so not really any particular issues that I can see. The one thing is, both the two on the left tell me which road I'm going to be turning on, but the one on the right does not tell me any. So the IGS 630 does not tell me what road, it just tells me how long to the next direction. And then also for my watch, it also does not tell me what street either, so that's a big no-no. Okay, so the Wahoo is definitely a bit above the rest of these. The Bryton said basically I need to make a right on Mayfair, but I was making a right on Dawes, but he was talking about the street, the turn afterwards, so it did not give me the most recent turn, whereas the Bolt V2 has, and it also has given me the least amount of false turns. So we got turn here. So this one's kind of like a merge into the right. So I think right now looking at these, this one's not giving me a turn. This looks the most correct. This one is the wrong direction. And here is, this one's a good direction, I think, telling me to merge, and I'm going right. So that's a nice directional look. So one thing to note with the Bolt V2 is that it gives me a beep notification before, like a little ways out, and then it also gives me like a confirmation that I'm supposed to turn. That one was the Bryton, so about 400 feet out, telling me that I need to make a left, and then it gives a countdown. Same thing with the IGS 630. So that's the Bolt V2 giving me a notification right before I have to turn. So that's a nice touch that both of these other ones are not giving me. And then on the turn here, the IGS 630 is a little bit slow, and sometimes it thinks a little bit too much and says like, oh wait, did you actually make that turn? So it's still currently saying I have 880 feet until I make my next turn. And then this one here's 800 feet as well. And then getting close up to the turn here, about 500 feet out. And then gives me a nice like directional. So I think that's really nice. So I'd say
navigation wise, if the Bolt V2, because yesterday it did not give me directions at all for some reason, and I would say Bryton is second because it gives me that direction as well as the street name, and then the IGS630 is probably last because it does not give me the specific street that I'm supposed to turn on, and sometimes it is wrong and sometimes it's updating and it is wrong and doesn't have a good way of zooming in, just only a way of zooming out and then zooming back in by just zooming out enough. There's another one here. That one's a good directional signal too, as we head into a little bit of forest preserve. We'll also be testing out the GPS tracks too and taking a look at those.
All right, test done thus far. Bolt V2 is number 1. Proper notifications, the least amount of accidental warnings. Bryton number 2, decent with the notifications, a little bit too many. And then this one is just kind of all over the place. Again, I think you can turn off the notifications and just leave the map, because the maps are generally good, just looking at them. So this one is technically the cheapest. This one cost $75, $180 total. This one was $200 and this one was $230. Now those aren't the retail prices technically. Technically this retails for $280, the Bolt V2. This one retails for, I believe, $200, and then the Bryton retails for $250, I believe. So if you're looking at these retail wise, is it worth paying a little bit extra for this? I think the GPS tracks for this are really, really bad. GPS tracks for this are really, really good. But these three, which one would you buy? I'm thinking right now, if I had a choice and this synced, all these synced up properly, I would probably go for this one if the GPS track is accurate. But this one is also touchscreen, and I hate touchscreens, so we'll see what it's like testing this out a bit. Battery life, this one is advertised for the most. This one I believe is 35, and this one's the least at like 15-ish. For double the battery and a bigger screen and better accuracy, I would likely not pick the Bolt V2 and be choosing between the Bryton and the IGSPORT. So just looking at the GPS track straight off of Strava, it looks like that the IGS630 is definitely the best in terms of GPS track. The Bryton is second, the 750SE, and the Bolt V2 is dead last in terms of the overall GPS signal. And oddly enough, it is also the worst in battery. It obviously is slightly less sizable than the other two units, but I would assume like it was even like the GPS track was even worse than my watch, which is strange. So I'm not sure what's going on with this, but I think again, GPS navigation is what I'm talking about, is the best on the Wahoo. Bryton is second, and IGS630 is the third. And generally, if I were to pick one overall, I don't like touchscreens, so I would not pick that one. So I would likely pick this one. Granted, it does not give me street names when I'm turning. It's not the biggest issue, but this can help out, especially with if you're riding with other people, to tell them what street you're turning on. So I think you kind of go with this one. So, but my particular needs are slightly different in that I need this to also be able to sync up with Insta360 X4. So this one does not do that. This one does do that. My watch does do that. I'm going to check on if it does this with the Bryton. So that's one thing that we will check and we will verify. All right, everyone, we have uploaded our route on all three of the devices. And, or I guess all four of the devices on my watch too. And we're gonna see the GPS track and the directions and everything, how it ends up doing. So again, testing the Bryton 750SE, the Wahoo Bolt V2, the IGS, or we'll call it the IGSPORT IGS630, and the Coros Pace 2. Okay, quick status update. This is what we're looking at here. It's quite hard to see the Bryton without the backlight on, so without that on, it's really difficult to see anything. So that's kind of a pain. Switch back here. We're gonna hurry up because don't want to get eaten by the mosquitoes. Thus far, the GPS track on the Wahoo still looks poor. This thing's been ringing off like crazy, and it kind of lost me when I made a wrong turn, if you will. Not really a wrong turn, but it was like on the sidewalk instead of the street sort of thing. But yeah, these two are very easy to see. This one's a little bit easier, I think, because there's a matte screen instead of a shiny screen. You can see that. But this one's the worst to be able to see. All right, so we are coming up to a fork. I want to show you what I see on the Bryton. You can see, well, it disappeared now, but there was a little symbol to say that I was going left and what type of turn. Also here, very good with the Bolt V2, and not so great with the IGSPORT. So yeah, did not give me a notification to turn or anything. So kind of interesting to see with the same GPX file what these companies are doing in terms of turns on trails. But this is clearly a fork. There's one going that way and one going this way, so probably should give me a notification. So here's the track there. Okay, there you go. You can see it. Very nice, telling you the direction, and it also tells you the name. This is telling me turn right, not telling me like a symbol of any sort, but if I zoom out far enough, I can see where that is exactly. This one allows me, the Bolt V2, to zoom into 100 feet. This one currently is only allowing me to zoom into 50 meters or 50 yards. And this one's 164 feet. So I have to put a conversion of what that looks like. But yeah, all these have different perks. I don't know if I'd ever go with the touchscreen, so that kind of puts this one out. This one's super ergonomic in that it can zoom in, zoom out with these two buttons, and it works really well. And this one's kind of like great GPS tracks, not so great navigation. Okay, so we're back on the road, and I want to stop real quick. You can see this one here. You can see it says like Museum Boulevard there. Here on the Bolt V2, you cannot see any of the road names on the actual maps. And then this one here, also the IG630, you can sometimes see the roads on the map, but not always. So you can see there Center Drive, zoomed out quite a bit, then you can start seeing some of the cities. But let's zoom back in here. This is also interesting. It doesn't like block off and move stuff down like the Wahoo Bolt V2 does. This is kind of annoying in that I can't really see this. I can tell where I'm turning, but it's blocking some of the map. So if it were anywhere, I'd rather have it be down here versus up here. So that's pretty annoying. This one does a pretty good job, but it missed a couple turns. So again, navigation wise, Bolt V2, but the GPS track I think is going to be quite poor. So again, depending on what you want, there are pros and cons and not one perfect one here. And I think people might ask, where is Garmin in this comparison? Garmin is not here because it is the industry leader in a lot of these cases and also is the most expensive. So I'm looking for the cheaper, more budget brands for these tests. All three of these do a decent job of telling you where to go and where you're supposed to go. And some things that I do like, so I guess honorable mention, this one, the Bryton 750SE, does a really good job of telling you where to turn, but also giving you like a little notification in the bottom left corner of what that turn looks like. So it's like, you know, if it's a U-turn, if it's a fork turn, what have you, it kind of shows you if it forks off which way to go. This one also tells you left or right, or if to keep on going straight. So that is also good. This one is kind of just like an arrow pointing left or right. That is kind of annoying, but that's really all that it tells you, but it does give you overload of turns. But I'd rather have something give you more turns than too little. All right, we're out doing another test here. So we're gonna do hills. So we're in Barrington Hills, and it's going to find some hills, see how these do in terms of their climbing functions. All right, just so you know what we're looking for here, when we hit the hills, we want to know, do we actually have to put a data point in terms of a route in the bike computer, or does it just give us the information about the climb when we get to one?
Okay, the Bolt V2, we got a climb. None of the rest of them have notified me of any climbs. So we'll keep monitoring as we get closer. Looks like we're already starting it, so see, you can see the climb. I think this is one of the nice features of some of these, that you get this without planning a route. So I think these other ones should show when we plan the route, but at the moment, only the Bolt V2 is showing me.
So it did not detect it for every single one. There were some hills in there that weren't included, so let's program this into the bike computers, a route around here, and see what that looks like. All right, all of them are loaded up. This one's processing still. It's probably the easiest on the still on the Bolt. This one was fairly easy. There's a button to actually enable the navigation immediately, so that's what I did on this one.
All right, this is a climb here, and let's see if anything gives me any information about it. Currently, the Bolt V2 is loading something, not sure what it is, but going up the hill, haven't seen anything yet. For the Brayburn climb, did get a notification for the Bolt V2. I still have noticed that it's a little bit laggy on the GPS. Both of the rest of these, no notifications whatsoever. So if that is a pertinent thing, even with a loaded map, these other two items do not tell you if you're doing a climb, how big the climb is, how much longer you have to go. I don't know if that's like a requirement. 11.5% grade according to this. All right, I've switched to the gradient page, or the elevation page. That's flat. Car coming up. So 0. I'm gonna go up a little bit here. 1, 1, 2, 2.5, 3, 1 still. This one's at 3, 4.3. Now we're starting to pick it up. So looks like definitely the iGPS again is responding the fastest to any grades. And I think maybe the Bryton be the worst at it. The Bolt V2 is second in terms of climbing grades and responsiveness there. So yeah, and looking at the last GPS track, I mean, obviously there's trees, coverage everywhere here, so it should be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, this is also nice because these other two on the right are nice because they give me like 1.2. The gradient currently here is just saying 1, 2. It's not giving me any decimals or anything like that. So I don't think that's really that big of an issue. I mean, you can see the summit. It's telling me I got there, so that's nice. But in general, these other two computers on the left, the IGSPORT and the Bryton 750SE, give me no data about the big climb that I just went. And it's big relative to Illinois, so it has all the maps and everything like that, so it should be good. But this test did not show anything on the Chinese brands. Summit climb, whatever. Seems to only happen on the Wahoo, but apparently only certain hills, even if it's programmed in. All right, this so you can see rerouting and off route. All of them now say off course. The Bolt V2 is telling me actual things. The IGS630 is just saying you're off course and then giving me random lines. Yeah, it just says basically go back where you came from. And then it shows you the GPS track, which is good. Yeah, the Bryton just says like go backwards basically. It looks like there's a track, but it's not great. Not really showing me too much detail. If you're looking for something that does good rerouting, again, the two on the left, just like climb functions, don't really do much. And the Bolt V2 actually does something. With that said, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think, and we will see you in the next video.